Nunavut, or Our Land in Inuktitut, encompasses over 2 million square kilometers and has a population of 35,944 residents. 2016 census, approximately 85% of whom are Inuit. Covering roughly the part of the Canadian mainland and Arctic archipelago that lies to the north and northeast of the tree line, Nunavut is the largest and northernmost territory of Canada and the fifth largest administrative division in the world. Nunavut live in 25 communities spread across this vast territory, with the largest number, 7,740, 2016 census, in the capital, Iqaluit. The creation of Nunavut in 1999, the region was previously part of the Northwest Territories, represented the first major change to the political map of Canada since the incorporation of Newfoundland into Confederation in 1949. Beyond changing the internal political boundaries of Canada, Nunavut's formation represented a moment of great political significance. Through political activism and long-term negotiations, a small, marginalized Indigenous group overcame many obstacles to peacefully establish a government that they controlled within the Canadian state, thereby gaining control of their land, their resources and their future. As such, the creation of Nunavut represents a landmark moment in the evolution of Canada and a significant development in the history of the world's Indigenous peoples. Nunavut covers 1,936,113 square kilometers of land and 157,077 square kilometers of water in northern Canada, representing 21% of the country's total area. The territory includes part of the mainland, most of the Arctic archipelago, and all of the islands in Hudson Bay, James Bay and Ungava Bay. Contained within the territory of Nunavut are three distinct physiographic regions: the Hudson Bay lowlands, the Canadian Shield and the Arctic lands. Include within the Hudson Bay lowlands, a sedimentary basin in the middle of the Canadian Shield, are Southampton Island and Coates Island in Hudson Bay. The Canadian Shield comprises much of the mainland, certain islands around Hudson Bay and parts of the Arctic archipelago. The lowlands of the Canadian Shield, which rest on a bed of rock that is at least 1 billion year old and covered by a thin layer of soil, are often poorly drained and flat. A defining characteristic of this physiographic region are the thousands of lakes and rivers that dot the surface. Baffin Island represents the eastern rim of the Canadian Shield and is classified as a highland, possessing rolling plateau surfaces interrupted by glacial troughs. The Arctic lands physiographic region extends throughout the northern half of Nunavut. The region contains the Arctic coastal plains, Arctic lowlands and the Inuitian region of the High Arctic. Made up of almost 100 major islands and over 36,000 smaller ones, the Arctic archipelago represents that world's largest high Arctic land area. Within its archipelagic territory, Nunavut contains 5 of the world's 30 largest islands: Baffin, the largest island in Canada and 5th largest in the world, Ellesmere, Devon, Axel Heiberg and Prince of Wales. Victoria and Melville Islands, also among the largest 30 islands in the world, are split between Nunavut and the Northwest Territories. The archipelago is divided into northern and southern halves by the Parry Channel, which runs from Lancaster Sound on the eastern fringe to Amclure Strait. The eastern edge of the archipelago is a mountainous zone, with elevations approaching 2,000 meters in the north, and a heavily fjorded coast. The ice caps that occupy the highest land on many of these islands contain the largest glaciers in Canada. In sharp contrast, the central and western islands are relatively flat, with low relief. On the northern islands, night lasts for 24 hours during the winter months, while day lasts for 24 hours during the summer. Geology: Nunavut is divided into 3 geological regions: the Inuitian origin in parts of the northern archipelago, the Canadian Shield and the interior platform. The Inuitian origin, which lies primarily in the northern half of the archipelago, is made up of folded and gently dipping sedimentary rock. This area is composed of the Franklin Basin and the Sverdrup Basin, which have been accumulating sedimentary deposits for 500 million years. The Canadian Shield region contains some of the oldest igneous, metamorphic and sedimentary rocks on Earth, between 1 and 4 billion years old. The interior platform region, which encompasses most of the southern half of the archipelago, is covered in rocks from the Cambrian to the Cenozoic era, i.e., as old as 542 million years. Mineral and hydrocarbon resources are abundant throughout Nunavut. The territory contains proven reserves of oil and gas, diamonds, gold, tin, uranium, iron ore, zinc, lead, rock salt, gypsum and other base metals. The Sverdrup Basin alone is thought to contain over 481 billion cubic meters of recoverable gas. Surface: much of the land in Nunavut is characterized as tundra, which is bare, rocky and treeless. The soil of the tundra is locked in permafrost, perpetually frozen ground, which in Nunavut extends anywhere from a few meters to 1,500 meters into the ground. Only a thin layer of the tundra thaws during the summer months. During this period, the ground is soggy and covered in marshes, lakes, bogs and streams. Moving northward in the archipelago, the tundra progressively changes into polar desert as the climate becomes increasingly drier and colder. Water Nunavut contains 21% of Canada's fresh water within its rivers, streams and lakes. The Arctic archipelago, with its land-to-water ratio